Welcome back to Man Down Sports. As you can see from the thumbnail, we're talking about Jerry Jones. We're talking about Jamie Foxx. The video that's going around with Jamie Foxx on live while he was at the practice facility in the stadium with Jerry Jones, and they was watching the players on the field. And I think this might have been maybe Jamie Foxx's Instagram live that he went live on, and I don't know what day it was, when it was, but this video surfaced today over the weekend. So I don't know how old it is. I don't know if it's this year. I have no clue about this video. It's just all of a sudden visible now, and I think it's weird that everybody IG is getting them in trouble. Man, we had Shannon Sharp last week. Now we got Jamie Foxx and Jerry Jones. This topic is interesting. It's semi-serious. It is serious, but it's also humorous. So we probably go have all of those ranges of emotions while we're talking about this, but nonetheless, we got to talk about it, and I think it was noteworthy and interesting for us to do it on this platform. But before we get started, as y'all come in, make sure y'all hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe, and I appreciate it if y'all hit the share button as well. You can always support the channel by doing those things. Those are the easiest things you can do, but you can also support us by working with our sponsors, which is Underdog Fantasy. And you can use the promo code mandownsports when you work with them. And here's a word from our sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy sports. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in on some NBA action with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just find your favorite player, or any player for that matter, pick higher or lower on that player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in one night. Pick between 2 or 5 players to fill your pick'em entry. Get every pick right, and you can net yourself some serious cash. Use the promo code mandownsports and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Plus, now that it's football season, you can follow Man Down Sports as we reveal our favorite picks from week to week. Like I said before, pick your favorite player, pick higher or lower, choose your dollar amount, and win some money. It's just that easy. Make picks, win money. We also want to thank Underdog Fantasy for partnering with us, and we want to thank you for helping the channel out by using Man Down Sports on Underdog Fantasy. All right, so I'm going to play y'all this video. Hopefully I don't get flagged for it. This is fair use. So I'm only using this video for commentary and educational purposes. Like I said, fair use for this video. Hopefully I don't get flagged for it. But let's just go ahead and play it.
5, 9.5, 2, 10. 5, 9, 2, 10. 4, 4, 1. Okay. 9 and 3-inch head. 8.5-inch dick. Hey, that's pretty good right there. You showed balance. 5, 9.5, 2, 10. 5, 9, 2, 10. 4, 4, 1. Okay. 9 and 3-inch head. 8.5-inch dick.
Lord have mercy. So it appears that they're at the practice field. The team is practicing. Jamie Foxx is there beside the owner, Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones is talking about a player. He said a player's name. If you can get the long version of this video, he mentioned a player that they just drafted. It might have been a rookie that they was talking about. And he was giving Jamie the measurements, right? And it's a whole bunch of things that fact goes into. I mean, the fact that he was talking about all that stuff and giving the measurements is a whole, it's 2 or 3 different thought processes with that, right? But he was giving the measurements. He talked about how tall he was, 5'9". Okay, cool. He talked about his weight, 210. Okay, cool. Then he started talking about, I don't know if he said 9 3/4 head or hands. I don't know if he was measuring the length of his hands or his head. I don't know why his head would be even significant. I mean, who cares what your helmet size is? We they don't help you play football, right? So I'm thinking that he said hands, because that's going to tell me, he might have a bigger catch radius than a player with smaller hands, or he got the type of mitts that can bring in the football easier than someone with smaller hands, right? So it sounded like he was somebody's hands. And then he said he had a not a five, Lord have mercy. Said he had a 8.5 inch thing. And that's when Jamie Foxx shut the live off. So he said 8.5 inch thing. I'll play it back for you so you can hear it just in case you didn't catch it the first time.
5, 9.5, 210. 4, 9 3/8 head. 8.5 inch dick.
Right. 8.5 inch. You know what? And I'm trying to figure out why that's relevant. Number one. Well, let's back up. Before we even get to it being irrelevant, it's a couple of things you got to ask yourself. Why is he that comfortable saying it around Jamie Foxx, right? That's one thing. Number two, that's sexual harassment, right? You're in the workplace. Like these rules apply for owners as well. We've seen that with the former owner of the Carolina Panthers. He got in a whole bunch of trouble about saying some things. I don't know if they ever revealed exactly what he said, but he had allegations of harassment, sexual harassment, things of that nature. And he was forced to sell his team. Jerry Richardson, the former owner of the um, Carolina Panthers. Now, what is it? David Tepper is the new owner. So we've seen owners from football teams get caught up in some sexual harassment stuff. And I know it was some stuff going on over at the Washington Commanders with their organization. So these rules apply to everyone, right? So most workplaces have a sexual harassment policy, and they take it very seriously. It just seems like I think the owners think they're exempt from that, right? If I'm in the workplace, I work for you, you're the owner. You can't harass or sexually harass me either, right? And if you can imagine wherever you work, it could be, at the bank, it could be in the military, it could be at Target, Walmart, it don't matter where you work at, school system, wherever you work, police force, you're supposed to have laws that protect you from being sexually harassed. You can't put someone in a hostile and working environment that every time they show up, one of their coworkers, one of their peers, the owner, the boss, the manager, you're showing up at your place of duty that you have to work and make money to feed your family, but you're in a hostile environment because you don't know when you get there if they're going to be talking about your body parts in a sexual way, right? That's uncomfortable for men or women. It don't matter. Like some people might think that's just for women, but that's uncomfortable, right? So if my team owner is out here like just, oh man, I mean, I know he's not literally measuring people slong like that, right? But after he say something like that, I don't even want you in the locker room, right? Because amongst us in the locker room, we play football, we go to war together, we fight on the field, we practice together, we spend a lot of time together, and you jump in those showers and stuff like that. You're probably going to see a dude, the way he was born. You might see that. You got to be comfortable enough that, all right, man, I don't, this dude ain't go, he ain't looking at me like that. He ain't looking me up and down and measuring me. He ain't, you get what I'm saying? I need to feel comfortable to know that if you see me with no clothes on, it's just like, I don't want to see that. Let me just go do what I need to do over here. But if I find out you on some IG live talking about, I mean, come on, man, like that was disgusting, right? So that's one thing. That's sexual harassment, right? The other thing is, um, it it reminds me of how the owner of the Clippers looked at his players, right? another owner who had to sell his team off some words that he said that he thought was in private that leaked out or got revealed to the public. But most of his stuff was racial. He specifically said he didn't want black players in his arena with his girl and all this stuff. But you know, he also looked at his team like a plantation, right? Which means if you look at your team like a plantation, we know what that has a connection. It has a connection to slavery, right? So if you look at the team like a plantation, then you must look at the players and the coaches like slaves. And you had a lot of black players that played for your team, right? So Sterling was forced to sell his team. He had weird way of thinking about his players and stuff like that. And he talked about how I bought him clothes. Who else take care of them? Like the way he talked about his players. Now we can document that he looked at it like a plantation, and it was kind of like well known. We can document that, but also we can kind of connect the dots to the way he talked about his players was almost like the way a farmer would talk about his cattle, right? And you go to someone who has sheep, horses, cows, chickens, pigs, and all that stuff. That you go to someone who has that, they care for those animals. They care for them. They feed them. They nurse them. They help them deliver their babies. They take care. If they get sick, they take them to the vet. All of these things. They make sure they put the right foods in them. Like they take care of them. If a wolf come out there and try to eat them, they go out there and fight the wolf off. Like so, there's a level of care for a farmer and his animals, right? But at the end of the day, they're still animals, right? If he had to put one of them down, he'll put one of them down, right? If he had, you get what I'm saying? Like if it was between him and his kid and that wolf was out there, he's going to go get his kid. The wolf can have that pig, right? So just because you pay a player or just because you take a picture with a player or just because, you give gifts and cars to these players, you throw parties for them, that doesn't mean that you don't look at them like cattle. That don't mean you don't look at them like slaves. That don't mean you don't look at your team like a plantation, right? So David Sterling, Donald Sterling, Jerry Jones, they're both men around the same age, grew up in the same era. It's kind of hard to kind of recondition your mind. They probably recondition the best that they can. But if they're not deliberate about going in and having a new heart and a new mind, those old ways that they grew up learning about the world and America and black people, that dies hard, right? And it seeps out ever so often with things like this. He don't even know that microaggression is a thing. Just being that comfortable talking about a player and his measurements just tells you that he has a thought process of them as cattle, right? And this is a lot of things that people complained about the combine. They said it felt like a slave auction, right? So that kind of lets you know a little bit about Jerry's mind and how he think about his players, right? So that's one component of it. He's thinking of them as cattle, or maybe he need to be the next person that the FBI raids his house and put him on that freako like Puff Daddy. Maybe he just a straight up freak. I don't know. Maybe he's a straight up freak. Maybe this ain't got nothing to do with him looking at them like cattle. Maybe he really is out there looking at his players and measuring their stuff, sizing them up and down, head to toe. Maybe he is thinking about these dudes. I don't know. Maybe he has a young girlfriend that he can't do nothing for. Maybe he's paying his players. Hey, look, I'm not only playing you to play football. I need to be able to pick you out of the garden like a rose and come give you to my girlfriend, and then you can take care of business while I watch. Maybe he needs to be on freego charges. I have no clue. I don't know. Maybe it's both. Maybe he need to come up on freako, and maybe he's also one of these guys is similar to Jerry Richardson and Donald Sterling. right? That'll be my guess. I mean, he's like I said, they're in the same age bracket. I'm pretty sure they got the same thought processes, and and I'm pretty sure all these owners talk to each other at that level. They're not too different, right? They're not too different. So, um, the thought process of them as slaves and cattle, or the thought process of them just being straight up freaks and looking at them like, I'm amazed. Who knows what the motivation is for him to be able to speak like that, right? But if you're curious the way, um, how athletes that makes that amount of money can be looked at as a slave or cattle, right? This is where reading becomes fundamental. William Roden wrote a book called $40 Million Slave, right? And this is about the athlete, right? This is a very good book to get into. Um, you can get into Dr. Clyde Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. You can get into that. Both of those are really good books, very informative, and it helps you understand how someone can actually be getting paid for their services, but still be slaves, or still looked at as slaves by their owners, right? Interesting read. So don't just do what Stephen A. Smith is probably going to do Monday morning and just act like that's nothing, because Jerry Jones is one of his best friends by his own words, and he don't see a racist bone in his body, which is the last year before last, he came under fire for them finding a picture of him in high school, maybe middle school, uh, as part of an angry mob that was harassing some black students that was being integrated into their school. Jerry Jones was right there, and here's Stephen A. Smith coming to protect him, and Stephen A. Smith wasn't even there. Like, how you gonna protect him? He's coming to vouch for him and saying, I can, I know Jerry Jones, and he's not racist, and that picture is whatever he said it is, right? I would love to hear how Stephen A. Smith is going to come and explain this one, um, or him talking about the player the way he was talking about the player, right? Um, One last thing I wanted to get into though, right? So Jerry Jones. So now this is the part that's uh maybe a little bit hilarious, right? Jamie Foxx, he's a Cowboy fan. He's from Texas. Him being able to rub elbows with Jerry Jones is probably a big deal to him. I know it's a big deal to Stephen A. Smith because he probably never thought that he would even be in the same room talking to someone that's a billionaire status, right? Right. Stephen A. Smith, the way he brags about the bosses and being friends with team owners and being friends with league commissioners lets me know how important it is to him, and how good it feels for him to be able to rub elbows and sit at the same table with them and have conversations, and probably on a smaller scale influence them a little bit. Maybe Stephen A. Smith could share a little bit of a black man's perspective to them, and if they consider it, I think Stephen A. Smith feels like he's influencing them, right? Um, so with Jamie Foxx being a guy that came up in comedy, he had talent because he was a great singer. He plays musicians, he plays instruments. Um, he probably never dreamed that he would be rubbing elbows with millionaires. So especially someone, that owns the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, this way, like he probably never even thought I would be sitting down with him and having a conversation with him. So he probably took it to heart that he was with Jerry Jones, which is probably why he went live. Hey, I want y'all to see I'm with Jerry Jones. Look, I'm with a billionaire. He just wanted y'all to see he was live. Jerry Jones didn't know he was live, so he was speaking freely, right? But what kind of conversation is Jamie Foxx having with Jerry Jones on a regular basis to where Jerry Jones felt comfortable enough to start talking about one of his players' private part? And what was he going to continue to say after that if Jamie Foxx didn't shut the live down? Which he probably still said it once he shut the live down, but what was that conversation going? What type of conversations did they have in the past to make that something that he just comfortably would say? And does Jamie Foxx need to come up on a Freako as well? I don't know. So I can't in no way think of anyone I would be sitting down talking to what I would just come out and freely speak about a man's meat like that. I just don't understand or think that there would be any scenario where that would come out where I would just be sitting down and I'd be like, look, man, that player right there, he runs a 4.4, he's 5'9", he's 210 pounds, and this is how many inches he got. I just don't see where that's I just don't see where it comes from, right? But let me give you a little bit more insight about how Jerry Jones run things with the Cowboys. Remember last year, Dalton Schultz, who played tight end for the Cowboys for about 4 years, now he plays for the Houston Texans, and he went on Pat McAfee's show last year, and he was asked about the Cowboys and how it was different from the Texans, and he started describing how you feel like you're in a freaking zoo with the Cowboys because the way Jerry Jones run that team is that he brings people on tours. I don't know if he's charging them, but it's a real live tour for people to come to the facility while they're practicing and to just watch them. The locker room is open, right? So you might come out to the game. It might be a loss. You come in the game, it's cameras all in there, right? So he invites people to see his players and like show them off, right? I don't know what is to be shown off for a player practicing or showering or getting dressed in the locker room. I don't know why that's something that needs to be shown. Dalton Schultz even said that there's one-way mirrors in the facility. So you can be in there working out. The one-way glass makes you visible from the outside, but you can't see on the outside. You can't see from the inside who's out there watching you. So it can be a whole 200 people tour back there and just watching like, oh my God, look at Dak Prescott with his shirt off bench pressing. Or look at that, they just watch him like that. And if Jerry Jones is just freely telling Jamie Foxx measurements of his players all the way down from the head all the way to the toe, not missing not one body part, what is he saying to these other people about these players? And why are they so intrigued to come and watch them play? Here's Dalton Schultz talking about it.
Yeah, 5.
Okay, and I never played for the Cowboys. Pac-Man did play for the Cowboys, but we kind of get like displayed and showcase what it's like to play for the Cowboys. You're on national TV every single week. Practice facility is filled with people paying for tickets for practice. Like it's a whole different world, allegedly. Yeah. Have you enjoyed? Obviously you enjoyed your time in Dallas. I'm not going to say that, but when you get to Houston, is it vastly different than your time in Dallas? Whenever you're talking about all the off the field, is it? Is that real?
That was one of the first things that kind of stuck out to me is like, it feels like much more, I don't want to say college because it's not, but like the focus is just football, you know what I mean? And going back and like telling some people like how kind of being around the Cowboys, like practice facility and, game day, describing some of the interactions and stuff that you see on a day-to-day basis, like surprised a lot of people. They're like, holy crap, like that actually happens like at a practice facility. And like, it's just, you think it's normal. And then you come to a place like this.
Like what? You don't have to out anything, but like, what are you?
No, dude, it's just like there's people literally going on tours while you're lifting in the weight room. And they've got like a one-way mirror for people to like look at. Like it's a zoo, dude. There's people tapping on the glass, like trying to get people's attention as they're doing, power cleans or whatnot. And it's different. And I mean, that's the brand that they've built. That's what Jerry Jones likes. That's the way that they run things. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you don't realize like how many, eyeballs and how much that can maybe, distract from, stuff just in the locker room, being in the facility until you go somewhere else and you're like, holy crap, like, dude, there's none of that. Like, this is, you know, also a really well-run organization in Houston. And I think that was one of the things that kind of scared me about like leaving Dallas the most, is like, I wasn't sure what another organization would kind of feel like.
Wow. He said it's like a zoo. He said it's a one-way mirror, people tapping on the screen, on the glass, trying to get your attention while you in there working out, getting ready for a good week of practice. Right. That's crazy. That's what we do to the animals and the monkeys and the lions and the gorillas that's in the cage that we can walk by, and there's that glass right there, and you know, all the kids just watching, and we just get to watch the monkeys on the inside just do their thing, just sit out there and chill. Right. Jerry Jones built the practice facility like that, where you can come and look through a glass and watch his players work out. All right. And whatever they want to work out in, they probably out there with no shirt on, minimal shorts or whatever. Who knows? And Jerry got them on the tour. And if he's the tour guide, Lord have mercy, he probably, oh man, 6'8", 260 pounds, and just going it just like he just did with Jamie Foxx. Like if that's how if he could just freely and easily just talk like that, this is normal. And if you connect the dots to how he want to run his facility, it makes sense. Donald Sterling felt like he had a plantation. Like, this is serious stuff when you get into the mind of these people. When you get into the mind of someone who seemed like they need some type of training, they got to get that out of their system, man. Like, this is insane, man. Like, they really think of players like that. Like, I mean, I was being funny at first. I don't think that this is on some freak stuff. I don't think. I mean, but then again, I mean, you can't rule that out too, though, man. Because like, I mean, when they was selling slaves back in the day, I think it was important to know. I mean, it seemed like it was important to know what the size of everything of that slave was. If you had somebody like that, you know what I mean? Like, I think that was important. That, like, I think they wanted to know that. I don't know. Like, when you buy horses, you want to know the stock that horse came from. What was his dad like? What was his mom like? You know, what was it, a thoroughbred? You know, all this stuff. So I guess you want to know that, you know, because you want to use. I don't know. It's just so weird, man. It's very weird. It's very weird, man. But they think of it like that. They're running a business for sure, but their business is on the backs of actual people that they probably see as cattle, right? I can't stress that enough. They probably see them as cattle, and paying them is equivalent to someone feeding and providing housing and providing medical care for a slave, right? I mean, you think it wasn't just easy to keep slaves, right? You have to keep them alive and strong and working. Like, you have to do those and trained, right? It's the same thing as an animal. Like, you can't have an animal that's just go run. You have to train that animal not to run. You have to train that animal to listen to you, to obey you, right? But you also have to keep the animal alive. You don't want it to get worms. You don't want it to, walk around barefoot. For horses, you put some shoes on their feet, right? You want it to eat the right foods. You want it to be strong. You want to make sure their teeth don't rot out. Things of that nature, right? So you have to upkeep it, right? Anything that you have that you own, a car, you have to keep gas in it, oil. You have to keep all the fluids in it, change the brake pads, wash it, clean it out. Like, you have to upkeep it in order to get all the use out of it for as long as possible. That's how they look at these players. Like, this money that they're spending, you got to think about the money that they're getting in return. Like, this is nothing to Jerry Jones. So don't think just because he pays Dak or he pays Zeke substantial amount of money, that he don't view them as the way that this book say that they view them, or this book, right? Don't think that that's not the reality of it, because more and more you let these people that own these teams talk, the more they start to sound like Donald Sterling. Right. So I just want you to keep that in mind, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning into the live, man. I catch y'all on the next one. Peace.